So Mboro appeared in court very recently, and it's been a show so far. It's a show. It literally looks like a show. Now, the faces he was making towards the state, the state lawyer, it was quite interesting. But it says a lot. It goes a long way. The faces that he was pulling over there. There's about 2 clips that I want to play you. And then I want to play you a video from about 2013 when the BBC shot a documentary about him and stuff that he does, basically questioning some of the things that the man them was busy doing back then. And there's something that he said there that I want to take and bring it here, and so that we can have a conversation about that. It's the reality show with the daily Christian commentary videos. So let's talk about these faces that he was making. Before, I'll do a different episode concerning what was being said by the legal team, by his legal team, and then what they were actually doing in court. I took a couple of hours to watch this case. Watched a couple of appearances and stuff like that. I spent about 6, 7, 8 hours concerning that. So I want to do a breakdown of 2 particular things that were happening. It was quite interesting. So do look out for that video in the afternoon around 3 o'clock. So the first video that I want to show you, it's when there were, it's better seen than me saying. It's right about here. You can see Mboro reacting towards the state lawyer's exhaustion at this point and frustration at this point. So he's very fascinated. He's making a mockery of him being tired. Then when the lawyer puts his hand down, then he goes back to normal. But he was quite fascinated by the frustration of the state lawyer. Now, I'll mention why in the second episode. In the second episode, I want to show you what was his legal team saying and what not. It just goes to show I could not be a lawyer. So thank you for you guys, but I could not be a lawyer at that particular. And then later on, there was another video that came up, and it was this one here. You do see him kind of taking out his tongue on the state lawyer there. And he goes on and he says, yeah, usile wena. Like, the state lawyer just represents the case from the other side, opposed to you. It's not personal. So he's already taking it personal with the way usile, he says. Now, what was being talked about at that particular period, right? So we can see what was exciting Mboro. Let's listen in a little bit.
Your Worship, they brought 3 prosecutors for a chooser. Now they are telling us which they can't swap. It's not proper, Your Worship. That creates a problem that interfere with the constitutional right of the accused.
He immediately goes into victim mode. It's not happy. All right. First of all, that particular part, that's when the state lawyer, they were trying to negotiate what dates they're going to allocate for the next appearance. And the state lawyer states very clearly, he can't be available. They have to kind of find a time for it, but he can't be available. He has other cases that he has to get involved in. And so his lawyer here was saying, they brought 3 lawyers last time, so someone must replace him. And so is that what was exciting him at first? The other one, when you see him showing kind of like, because this case took a couple of hours, I think 3-4 hours or something like that. Here, it's because the things that his lawyers were going towards, or what they were going for, kind of like, the state lawyer was like, we don't understand what they're trying to pull. Okay, and I'm going to show that in the second episode. I'll show that in the second episode, what they were bringing out and whatnot and stuff. I don't want to talk about it on this one. And so you could see he was visibly frustrated by how they were trying to take the entire proceedings. And so he was visibly, and he showed it continuously. They kept making issues about a certificate of the charges, or something along those lines, affidavit of charges and stuff like that. That must come from district what. And he goes even into the law thingy, and he reads out the portion that they are talking about. And I mean, like, even me, who's not a lawyer, I can hear it says that the district attorney thingy may make the statement thingy, and if the statement is available, it must. So it must be provided if it's available, but it's not a must for the office to offer that thingy, particularly on what he's been charged with. Now, I'll talk about that on the second episode. As I mentioned, there's a bunch of clips that I want to put together concerning that. But here, that's what was frustrating the attorney. Just in case you didn't watch this proceeding, he was frustrated because they were supposed to be making this particular appeal was supposed to be for something else. They then said, no, we can't continue until we've made clarity on the charges and stuff like that. Now, they point out why they do not agree with the charges and what. And the state lawyer then said, we agreed on these things. Why are we now changing and now going back and what? But as I said, I'll talk about that on the second episode. Now, there is another portion of video that I want to show you outside of him mocking the state lawyer. When Mboro was featured on the BBC documentary 2013, there's something he said when he was doing his underwear prayers and stuff like that. And it was this year.
You like what I'm doing or not?
We do.
Must we stop?
No.
Because somebody doesn't like it?
No.
Just touch it, let me pray.
And they started praying for their undies and their private parts and stuff like that. So right there he was saying, and the quite interesting part of that video, actually, before I actually even forget, is that just a little bit earlier on, the presenter for the documentary had to come and please Mboro. He had to make Mboro happy, basically, on those bases. So what happens is he comes in wearing Mboro's t-shirt. Now I want you to see Mboro's response concerning the journalist wearing his, by the name of Reggie, wearing his t-shirt there.
It looks good on me, right? Yeah?
Well, that's me. That's me.
Power!
So he's very much impressed with seeing himself there. Like I said, you see, in religion, self-serving is not the thing to go towards, or it's not the thing to go for. We must be very clear concerning that. The Bible talks about people who use the church in a certain tone to serve themselves, or it's a self-serving thing. It becomes self-serving. Why do you think? Is it that he can't take it seriously? I mean, like, we know the charges, right? We are clear of the charges at this point. And so is it that he doesn't understand the charges? Is it that we have video of him there? Okay? There is another video that is mentioned in the by the investigating officer. Okay? We'll talk about that on the second one. So there's another video that is spoken about. Not this one. The CCTV of the school. Right? We haven't seen that one. because in that one he mentions things that were not in this one. They talk about there was a shot that was fired. Oh no, that makes it even worse. That makes this entire thing worse. So I personally don't understand why, if that's the state of things here as we now understand, why then is he making faces? Because that does not fly in your favor. Now, in the second episode, I'll explain why I think maybe he thinks it's thingy. But he just doesn't realize that it doesn't excuse the charges, right? And so they are banking on the fact that they came up and they said the gun is fake. We'll talk about that later. But with the gravity of what he is facing concerning what he's done when he went into the school, nobody was there. It's not his enemies. There's nothing like that. It's nobody that was against him. No. He went to the school. Whether he thinks it's right or what, he went to the school, wielding a machete and swinging it all over the place. It's self-serving. It doesn't depict a minister of the gospel. So why is it that, remember the apostles say, take those that have us as an example. The Bible tells us to do that. And so not people that do not mimic the apostles' example. When they were persecuted, you see how they took that on, and when they were put through difficult persecution at that, you see how they took that on. They still a humble nature. You have to remember that parents had their kids there. Now, but if you are self-serving, we must think about you before you can think for other people. There's kids in the school. There's teachers who are there to educate the kids and also to protect the kids. And you go there holding a machete. 2 of them on top of that. Okay? And so, but that it makes sense to one if they are self-serving. The same way you hear him in that video saying, must I stop because someone doesn't like it? He's not concerned about how the Bible would uphold it. He's only concerned that he likes what he's doing. He doesn't care that it's not biblical. He only cares about the fact that he likes what he's doing. So why do you think he makes these faces? Is it that can you not understand how serious? I'm not even talking about the legal part of it. I'm talking about, does he not understand what trauma does to kids, which is the subject here, or how this impacts other people in the area, how it impacts local schools or kids as a whole in their growth? When I was in school, I remember when I was in high school, not primary, when I was in thingy, there was an issue at the school with some guys from Soweto. They came to school. They had an issue with the school. They were not people that were always attending school, by the way, and they started having issues with the school, and so they decided to try and burn the school. Okay. Now imagine us who were not involved. We were inside. But when you're self-serving, you don't think about others. But tell me what you think. For me, personally, it just leads me to the second episode. In the second episode, I'll highlight what was being said in the case. But here, I wanted to highlight first self-serving. Even in doctrine, even when he stood on the pulpit, when he had a bigger church, he was still self-serving. And he hasn't changed from being self-serving. That's why he continues on making faces and stuff like that. He can't. He's mocking the state's attorney because he's frustrated and just exhausted by Mboro's legal team and stuff. So he takes joy in that. Do we understand the gravity of what one's action mean to the community? But when you become self-serving, you can completely wipe all of that out. And that's what you see in that video. But tell me what you think down in the comment section, and I will see you on the later on episode. Other episodes down today, they'll be down in the pinned comments, and that episode will come out around 3 o'clock. So look out for that breakdown of the case and what was being said.